Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another predicted XI as we go into the game against Ipswich at the weekend. Massive game. We've done our preview show, so make sure to go check that out if you haven't seen it already. And this one's all about predicting or what we would do with the XI or starting 11 going into this match against Ipswich at the weekend. So if you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, all of that stuff. And yeah, Sloth, let's get into it. We've got a team to build. If we were Lopetegui, we're channeling our inner Lopetegui. What would we do for this game? And yeah, what do we think was going to get us the 3 points on Saturday? So starting with the defense, there's a few different things we could do here. Again, as of recording this, we don't know if Emerson's going to be fit, but let's just assume he is. What would you do with his back four? Do you think that Mavropanos coming in could be an option? Would you stick with the same back four that we had against Brentford? What are your thoughts?
I think it'd be a good option. I actually really like Mavropanos at right back. I think it helps alleviate a lot of the decision making that he does make. Some of the risky decision making, I should say. And he played there quite a lot at Stuttgart, and he's got an absolute rocket of a right foot. So we may finally see a goal from the right back spot. But
yeah,
I think if Emerson's fit, he probably comes back in. However, I do think there's maybe a question mark or two over his form as well. And I to be honest, I would be surprised if he's dropped. So I could see him starting and Wan-Bissaka at right back.
Do you think Mavropanos at right back has more, say, concentration in that position than, say, Wan-Bissaka? Because we mentioned in our preview show that on the left-hand side, they're going to overload with Davis to left back and Jack Clark almost coming inside as an inverted winger to play as at number 8 or 10 on the left-hand side. So we're going to need concentration over on that side because Ipswich will get numbers and will look to attack us down that side. So is there an argument for bringing in Mavropanos at right back here?
I mean, all summer we heard how good defensively Wan-Bissaka was in the right back spot. So I think now's the chance to let him prove it. And you know, he was fantastic in his first couple of games, and I think he kind of has taken his foot off the gas against Fulham and Chelsea. It's up to him to again find form and I think just get up to speed again, because he was letting things slide or taking too much time, and you know, something you can't do at this level. So
yeah,
I would be surprised if he doesn't start. I also thought he looked comfortable at left back, so at least we've got options. But I think, you know, if he wants to cement that right back spot, which I think every West Ham fan thought when we signed him, you know, he's got to prove it in games like this. So
yeah,
start him, and if Emerson impresses, he stays there. If not, Emerson gets hooked and Wan-Bissaka goes on the left.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you think that Kilman and Todibo is now kind of our nailed-on centre-back pairing going forwards? Do you think there's any case for Mavropanos coming back into this kind of back line in the central position alongside a Kilman or Todibo?
No, I think they both performed well at the weekend. And look, for the Brentford goal, I would maybe look at the sort of midfielders defending instead of the centre-backs. And I don't really think you can call them out for that. It's a great strike for one, but also I think they both have someone picked up. So
yeah, I think we both said that they were probably our best players against Brentford as well, in Kilman and Todibo. And I think you have to form that partnership now. That is, you know, you're bringing in Kilman for 40 million, you're bringing in Todibo on a loan with an obligation of 40 million. So that has to be your starting pairing at centre back. And you know, we've mentioned Mavropanos' versatility. I actually think, as you mentioned, he could be a really good right back asset for us as we shift into kind of a back three in possession and push on, say, Emerson or Wan-Bissaka on the left hand side, similar to what Ipswich are actually going to do at the weekend. So I think that's, you know, that's pretty nailed on. As you say, it will depend on whether Emerson's fit or not, but Emerson is one of this back line, and Wan-Bissaka, they both need to improve their performances because they haven't been consistent enough so far this season to really improve that defense. And, you know, we've seen glimpses of, you know, good performances. You know, Wan-Bissaka started really well, as you mentioned. He's kind of dropped off it in recent games. Emerson hasn't been on it this season either. So, yeah, I mean, we'll be surprised if it isn't this back four unless Emerson's injured. If Emerson is injured, we'd probably move Wan-Bissaka to left back and bring in Mavropanos at right back over Kufal. So, moving on to the midfield slot, we were without obviously Alvarez in the game against Brentford due to his, how can I word this nicely? Indifferent decision against Liverpool. So he's back in the squad for this one. Who plays in your midfield three? Because obviously Souček got the goal and continues to be an ever presence in that midfield and a key figure to the goals and assist contributions he's bringing. You've got Paqueta, you've got Guido Rodriguez, you've got Carlos Soler, you've got Alvarez. Like who forms that midfield three? Even someone like Kudus as well.
I mean, for me, I think I would go with Souček, Alvarez, and Paqueta in the three. For me, I think as much as Souček is derided and his technical ability questioned, I think we've got the reverse in who he will potentially be up against, and he could bully Calvin Phillips. And I really think you should just be all over him, chasing him everywhere he goes. And if we can get him, sticking a leg in on him early on, I think he could well have him in his pocket. But look, that's a big if with some of our performances recently, and Alvarez, I think he's going to have a point to prove after your indifferent decision making. He was crap against Liverpool, wasn't he? Let's just be blunt about it.
Pretty rubbish this whole season, hasn't he? He hasn't really got going since coming back late from pre-season.
He's not really had a proper pre-season, has he? So hopefully he's going to get back to full match fitness and be the player we saw last season. But I potentially balance it with that double pivot and maybe ease the burden on Paqueta workload wise. Let him try and play balls into the attack.
Is there a case of moving Carlos Soler into the midfield three alongside, say, Paqueta and Alvarez instead of a Thomas Souček, just so we have that more assurance on the ball? And maybe against Ipswich, we're going to try and break them down when they're out of possession and they're quite compact. And we might need some more technical players in midfield. Just a caveat to that. So, yeah, what would you do with that? Would you still stick with Souček?
There's definitely a case for it, but goals win games. And I think that Souček looks good against Brentford. I think it'd be harsh to take him out of the starting 11. I think Soler looked good when he came on, but I don't think he would warrant starting over the midfield three, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. I would probably do the same as this, just because I don't know if Fulkrug's going to be fully fit or not. If Fulkrug's fully fit and can start, that my 11 would change. I would take out Souček and bring in Kudus into the middle instead of him, and play Alvarez, Paqueta, Kudus, and then that would leave the front three, which we're going to discuss now. But I expect it will be this midfield three, as you say. I think Guido Rodriguez will be the one to make way for Alvarez in that midfield. I can't see him playing Alvarez and Guido Rodriguez again, especially at home to Ipswich. I just don't think it's attacking enough. And as you say, Souček definitely warrants another start after his performance against Brentford. So that leaves us with the front three, Sloth. You've got Somerville, Kudus, Bowen, Antonio, Ings, potentially Fulkrug. So there's 6 players there. We've got to fit in 3 of them. Who makes your front three in this lineup?
Oof. I mean, for me, I would go Bowen on the right, Somerville on the left, because I think, at home you've got to go attacking. And look, I think Fulkrug rushing him back is a risky one. I put Kudus in the middle. I just, I think that's maybe a questionable one after his half-time antics, and whether Lopetegui will give him a chance or not is still very much up in the air. But for me, I think let him get at the back line, let him try and get at their centre backs, use his pace, because look, Fulkrug is not slow. I think he's about the same pace as Antonio. If you disagree, you can check up the Bundesliga stats that he was clocked at 34 kilometers an hour at the Euros, and for Borussia Dortmund, which is about the same as Antonio last season. I just don't think we should rush him back. I don't think we should risk it.
No.
And for me, Antonio hasn't done anywhere near enough. So I would put Kudus in the middle and, use the fact that he was taken off at halftime as a bit of motivation, and use that pace that he has, use that pace and goal scoring ability we know he has.
Are you see? I wouldn't mind seeing this either. I think that front three, it should be that, because Fulkirk isn't probably going to be, as you say, fully fit to come straight back in, and it's a bit of a risk. Antonio just hasn't been performing. Danny Ings, again, more of an impact sub than a starter in a solo striker position. I just worry that this will, again, nullify a little bit of what Kudus can do, because unless he's dropping deeper and connecting with play, he's going to be playing with his back to goal against, the likes of Greaves at centre back. I would rather Kudus picking up the ball in deeper positions and driving at the opposition. I know this kind of contradicts what Lopetegui wants, maybe based on the halftime team talk. But if I was to, just looking at this, if I was to play Bowen or Kudus in one of those strike or right wing positions, to maximize the returns of this, I would probably put Bowen a striker and Kudus on the right, just so we've got that ball carrier. And especially because of how Ipswich play, I just think Kudus on that right-hand side would be a real asset for us. And I think Bowen has that clinical nature to be in and around the box when a kind of situation arises where he needs to finish it. I think I would do that. What are your thoughts on that stuff? What about switching those two, or would you stick with Kudus in the middle as well?
To be honest with you, I would be totally happy with either. For me, though, I think maybe Kudus' physicality would be better suited to their centre backs, and they have a lot of size at the back with Greaves, and I think his raw pace as well he's just that a bit quicker than Bowen.
I think the key thing as well is in this lineup, we want to see not Kudus on the left wing, but Somerville on the left wing,
Yes.
and then that kind of unlocks that front three, which we haven't really seen too much of so far, of Kudus, Bowen, Somerville, and, playing Paqueta and Souček just behind with Alvarez at the base. I think that's quite a nice blend of creativity and also, as you mentioned, a kind of technical physicality side that Kudus would bring.
I think when we kind of talk about, some of the things that people have been critical about Kudus is, slightly selfish on the ball, and also his nature to try and carry the ball himself. Now, look, if you're a centre forward, that is something that we, or Moyes in particular, wanted from his centre forwards, to be able to carry the ball and, create these moments and turn defenders. Kudus is ideal for that. And look, he might not be dropping back as much in that central position, but I don't think it negates his work. I think he could easily drop back into his own half and run with it. We saw him do it against Freiburg. And, I think that if he's linking up players like Somerville and Bowen, either side of him, then he's more likely to make a lot of runs. And potentially that's someone you can take off after 70 minutes. Or 60 minutes, however hard he runs. But I just think that his pace, size and quality on the ball is something that we've really lacked up top this season.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think, as you mentioned, I'd be happy with either as well. I think the main point for me is that Kudus doesn't play left wing, and it's Somerville that plays off that left-hand side. So this is what we would do / predict going to happen. Areola in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman, Emerson, Alvarez, Souček, Paqueta in the midfield three, and then the front line of Somerville on the left, Bowen on the right, and Kudus in that false nine striker position. So let us know in the comments, what would you do going into this match against Ipswich at the weekend? It's a big one. We need 3 points. What would your starting 11 be? Who drops out? Who comes in? If you were a manager, what would you be doing? Let us know down below. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel for more content. And Sloth, until the next one.
Come on, you irons.